Welcome to another exciting episode from Marvelous Videos. I'm your host, Tia Ayer. Freakazoid, 1995 Cartoon Explained. Today we have nostalgic viewers clicking on this video to reminisce about their childhood and time they spent watching cool cartoons like Freakazoid. The show revolves around a quirky superhero who specializes in annoying the villains into quitting by using witty banter, constant silliness, and breaking the fourth wall. Freakazoid was a television show that was way beyond its time. It debuted on WB in 1995. It was created by Timm and Paul Dini and developed by Steven Spielberg. Their target audience was children, however, they did not hit the desired demographic as their humor was more in line with the more mature and adult audiences. Despite the show being canceled after 2 seasons and a runtime of 24 episodes, it seems to have a cult following that it has gained over the years. Let us see what makes Freakazoid such an interesting watch and, most importantly, who makes it so interesting. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What the cartoon television series is all about. The television show was created by DC Comics icon Timm. The series is actually a spin-off of Batman, the animated series. Although he had planned for the series to be a more straightforward comic series, typically an adventure show with comedic undertones, when Steven Spielberg intervened, he altered it into zany comedy that is held so dearly by 90's kids. In fact, Timm has said that each time that they would sit on a script with Spielberg, they would end up with something very different from what they started with. The concept would change and lean more and more towards comedy. After Timm left the show, Tom Ruegger, who developed Animaniacs, stepped in as a writer and delivered off-the-bat zany comedy. The show revolves around the superhero persona of a 16-year-old Dexter Douglas, which is the opposite of his regular nerdy personality. His name is a spoof of several alliterative actual names of superheroes, like Bruce Banner and Peter Parker. He can shift from Dexter to Freakazoid by saying the words freak out. He turns back into Dexter by saying freak in. Freakazoid is said to live in an area of Dexter's brain called the Freak Zone. In the Freak Zone, he stays with his thoughts and watches Rat Patrol. Dexter acquires his powers via computer bug, which is a reference to the Pentium FDIV bug that his cat, Mr. Chupkins, unintentionally activated using a secret key sequence. Freakazoid has since possessed superhuman strength and endurance, remarkable speed and agility, and minuscule qualities of sanity. The computer glitch absorbed him into his computer, and he rapidly acquired all the knowledge on the internet, so he isn't easily distracted by something like a bear riding a motorbike. These modifications make him a strong and terrifying force defending freedom and righteousness. He has a silent butler, Ingmar, who built him a base called the Freak Lair, where one can find the Hall of Nifty Things to Know and a mad scientist's lab. Freakazoid once had telekinesis powers, too. They were said to be activated by rage, but it was never referenced again after the episode. He can also instantly cross great distances by taking the shape of lightning. However, he prefers to run with his arms outstretched and make swishing noises with his lips to appear to be flying. He's a little eccentric as a superhero, which is why he once revealed his worst vulnerability to a villain. Who would have thought that would end with him trapped in a cage made of negative ion-charged graphite bars, his weakness? Additionally, he exhibits a very strong dislike for poop gas. Main character of the cartoon series. Freakazoid is a show with a lot of characters, and when we say a lot, we mean a lot. We will try to focus only on the main characters for now. The focus of the show is Freakazoid, our 16-year-old protagonist who has separate identities. Interestingly, his powers are actually a parody of the superpowers of comic book hero Shazam. He has 3 family members and 1 cat. The cat, Mr. Chupkins, is the one responsible for turning Dexter into a Freakazoid. He jumped on the keyboard and accidentally typed a sequence that activated a flaw in the Pinnacle chip. Other than that, there are his parents, Debbie and Douglas Douglas. Yes, his father's name is Douglas Douglas. Neither of them is aware that Dexter is Freakazoid. They both are genuinely clueless. Dexter's brother Duncan is a bully. He is shown as a typical high school jock who bullies Dexter, although Freakazoid keeps getting revenge on behalf of Dexter by frequently tormenting him. Now we move on to the allies. Sergeant Mike Cosgrove is a police sergeant with a big heart who is Freakazoid's dear friend. He shows no excitement for anything and speaks in a monotonous voice. He has this really intriguing ability to convince others to stop what they are doing immediately by pointing at anything and shouting, "Cut it out," regardless of what they may be doing at the time. He can make villains listen to him just by speaking. He also has this peculiar ability to find Freakazoid wherever he is. This leads to him constantly interrupting him in his heroic pursuits. Cosgrove unavoidably gives out crucial details about the episode's storyline every time he shows up, which forces Freakazoid to leave the thwart the villain's plan. Roddy McStew is Freakazoid's mentor and expositionist. He was the first person to find out about the flaw in the Pinnacle chip. He used to work for Gutierrez. To escape him, he went and hid inside the internet and got trapped in it. Later on, he was forced out of the internet by Gutierrez. After that, he went back to being a mentor. Steph is Freakazoid's girlfriend. She is a sweet, sarcastic, and cynical girl. She discovered his identity when Cosgrove accidentally said it out loud in an episode. Way to hide the superhero identity, Cosgrove. Hans is another ally of Freakazoid. He plays the role of a mysterious agent with a Western European accent. He is the one who takes Freakazoid to Professor Heine's lab. Now, Professor Heine is a scientist with a facility in the Highlands who Freakazoid occasionally seeks assistance from. He studies creatures and frequently faces attacks from them. Ingmar is Freakazoid's butler. He is mute, which is a fact Freakazoid loves to mention. The Freakalair was created and maintained by him. He left the team and mission Freakazoid to become a rodeo clown, and Professor Jones took his place. He is a satirical play on Alfred Pennyworth, the butler of Batman, and Bernardo, the mute manservant of Zorro. Professor Jones, the new butler, is a snobbish, cowardly person. In essence, he reprises the role of Dr. Zachary Smith from the television series Lost in Space. He is Ingmar's successor and is good friends with him. Jones and Cosgrove do not get along, and neither Freakazoid nor anybody else holds much respect for him. Joe Leahy is the show's vociferous announcer, and occasionally goes above and beyond what is normally expected of him. One can see Freakazoid occasionally breaks the fourth wall and talks to Joe Leahy. Like any superhero, Freakazoid also has a loyal companion, Foamy the Freakadog. He is a rabid dog who is prone to mauling and beating Freakazoid, but the true right-hand man to Freakazoid is Handman. It is literally just a face painted on his right hand. He fell in love with Handgirl, who is a painted face on Freakazoid's left hand. There is also Freakazette, but she was only mentioned briefly in the first episode. Her character couldn't be introduced because the show got cancelled.
I can't see the controls! The light's blinding me!
Cartoon casts. The cast is voiced by various artists. Freakazoid is voiced by Paul Rugg, who was initially a writer on the show. When a suitable voice actor couldn't be found, Paul Rugg, who had initially been engaged as the show's writer, was called in to present what he believed Freakazoid should sound like. Rugg was eventually selected in the lead part when executive producer Steven Spielberg approved the tape of his version. The story is narrated by Joe Leahy. Dexter Douglas is voiced by David Kaufman, Roddy McStew by Craig Ferguson, Professor Jones by Jonathan Harris, and Duncan Douglas by Googie Gress. Tress McNeil voices Debbie Douglas, and Edward Astner voices Sergeant Mike Cosgrove. Interesting facts about the cartoon. Freakazoid was created on Christmas Day. He is said to have all the knowledge of the internet. Still, thankfully, it is from a time before the modern internet, so he doesn't quite know everything. However, the computer virus left him easily distracted by various things. Freakazoid has a lot of strength, and he also has the ability to break the fourth wall. He and his alter ego are sometimes separate, and sometimes they act like they are one person. Despite all that, his profound thoughts come only when Dexter is in control of the body. During its original run, the program fared well and drew a sizable audience. Warner Brothers attempted to sell commercial time on this program, claiming that children were its target demography. However, the show is an eccentric one that was way ahead of its time, so it soon became apparent that most frequent viewers were 14 and older. Although it was contemplated to bring the show to prime time, it was ultimately canceled after 24 episodes. Freakazoid was a TV show with a lot of wild characters and sketches. It was a perfect way to wind down, especially after a stressful day. There is nothing more entertaining than an off-the-wall superhero who behaves like a golden retriever with way too much energy. It is a shame that it got canceled considering how well it could have done. It is the only superhero show made by Spielberg, and it is truly a legacy worth leaving. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.
Have a nice trip. See you next fall.